I sold your mother's worthless restaurant. Richard's voice crackled through the phone, thick with smug satisfaction. Finally got rid of that money pit. The new owners take possession next week. I gripped my phone tighter, my free hand curling into a fist. You had no right, Richard. That restaurant was Mom's life, her legacy. Your mother's been dead for 2 years, Emma. Time to let go of silly sentiments. The place was hemorrhaging money. I did everyone a favor. My name is Emma Chin, and at 32, I just lost the last tangible piece of my mother. The Golden Lotus wasn't just a restaurant, it was where I grew up, where Mom taught me to fold dumplings at 5, where she built a future after immigrating from China with nothing but determination and her grandmother's recipes. How much? I demanded, pacing my apartment. How much did you sell it for? Richard laughed, sharp and dismissive. Does it matter? The place was worthless, just like your mother's cooking. The land value was all anyone cared about. I closed my eyes, picturing Mom in the kitchen, her hands moving with practiced grace as she prepared her signature dishes. The restaurant had struggled since her death. I wouldn't deny that, but I had a revival plan. I just needed more time. You're not even going to tell me the sale price? Why should I? Your mother left everything to me. I'm the executor of her estate. You're just the daughter who abandoned the family business to become a fancy architect in Chicago. The guilt hit hard, just as he intended. I left 5 years ago, chasing my dreams, but I always planned to return, to modernize the restaurant while preserving its heart. Then cancer took Mom, leaving Richard in control. I'm coming home, I said firmly. Don't do anything else until I get there. Don't bother, he replied. The papers are signed. The deal is done. Focus on your little buildings and leave the real business decisions to me. The call ended. I booked the next flight to San Francisco, the city where the Golden Lotus had stood for 25 years. During the flight, I scrolled through old photos. Mom beaming in front of the restaurant on opening day. Me as a teenager, begrudgingly wearing the restaurant uniform but secretly proud of the praise our food received. The last picture we took together, both of us laughing as she tried to teach me her secret dumpling recipe. Some things, she'd said with a mischievous smile, you have to discover for yourself, my little architect. As my Uber pulled up, I saw the sold sign in the window. The Golden Lotus dragon logo, hand-painted when Mom first opened, seemed to watch me reproachfully. I unlocked the door, breathing in the lingering scent of soy sauce, ginger, and jasmine tea. The dining room was dark, the tables bare. Mom's wall of photos still hung intact, though dust had begun to settle. I told you not to come. I turned to find Richard leaning against the kitchen doorway, his silver hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. He'd always been about appearances, which was what first attracted Mom to him. After my father died when I was 10, Richard seemed like a stable choice. Successful, charming. The charm faded years ago. It's still my mother's restaurant, I said, running a hand along a table. I have a right to say goodbye. It stopped being your mother's restaurant when she left it to me. He straightened his designer tie. The new owners are turning it into a juice bar. At least the property will finally turn a profit. A juice bar. Mom would have laughed at the irony. You could have consulted me. I had plans to renovate, modernize. Your architectural plans, Richard scoffed. This isn't one of your design projects, Emma. It was a failing business. I made a business decision. How much? I pressed. You still haven't told me the sale price. He shrugged. 1.2 million. Mostly for the land. My breath caught. The restaurant was worth twice that. You undersold it. I sold it for what the market would bear, he said, checking his Rolex. The new owners arrive this afternoon. You should be gone by then. Something in his tone made me suspicious. What's the rush? The sale's done, right? Let me at least look around. His jaw tightened. Fine, you have an hour. Jess, stay out of the storage room. It's already been cleared out. He left. As soon as I heard his BMW pull away, I headed straight for the storage room. The door was locked. Odd, Mom never locked it. I tried several keys before one clicked. The room was nearly empty, but something felt off. Scratches on the floor. Different colored patches on the walls where shelving had been removed. A glint of metal caught my eye. Near the baseboard, something small, a handle. I ran my fingers along the wall, feeling a faint seam in the paneling. I pressed experimentally, and with a soft click, the panel swung out. Behind it was a small safe. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Lucy. Heard about the restaurant. You okay? Want to get lunch? I quickly typed back, rain check. Need a favor. Can you come to the Golden Lotus? Bring your toolkit. Lucy had worked in historic renovations for years. If anyone could open the safe, it was her. More importantly, I needed a witness. Richard's rush, the undersold price, the locked storage room, it didn't add up. Be there in 20, Lucy replied. Don't do anything fun without me. I spent those 20 minutes photographing the storage room, noting every inconsistency. Mom had been meticulous. She wouldn't have hidden something without a reason. The bell chimed and Lucy strode in, toolkit in hand. She whistled when she saw the safe. Well, looks like Aunt Helen had some secrets. Can you open it? Lucy examined the safe. Old but simple. Give me 10 minutes. Better if you don't watch. Plausible deniability. I paced the kitchen while she worked, my mind racing. What had Mom hidden? Why hadn't she told me about it? Then, voices. Richard was back, and he wasn't alone. Lucy, I hissed. Company's coming. Perfect timing, she whispered. It's open. She handed me a thick envelope and an old leather notebook just as the front door opened. Quick, she said, shoving them into my bag. Back door. I'll stall them. I slipped out into the alley just as Richard's voice echoed through the restaurant. Heart pounding, I drove to my rented apartment. I sat at the small table, finally pulling out the envelope and notebook. The envelope was sealed with wax. The notebook was filled with Mom's elegant handwriting, not recipes, but what looked like a diary. My phone buzzed. Lucy again. Richard and company gone. Safe closed up tight. They'll never know we were there. Call me when you read that. I took a deep breath and broke the wax seal. Several documents slipped out, along with a letter addressed to me. My dearest Emma, it began. If you're reading this, then you found what I hid. And if you found it, it's time you knew the truth about the Golden Lotus, about your father, and why I really married Richard. I sat in my temporary apartment, Mom's letter trembling in my hands as I began to read. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, it means you've discovered what I hoped you would. Your father always said you had my curiosity and his determination. He was right. There's so much I couldn't tell you while I was alive, partly to protect you, but mostly because of the promises I made. The Golden Lotus isn't just a restaurant. It never was. Your father and I built it as a cover for something much more valuable. Something Richard has been searching for since the day he entered our lives. A sharp knock at the door made me jump. I hurried to the peephole and exhaled when I saw Lucy standing there, holding up a bottle of wine and takeout bags. I brought reinforcements, she announced as I let her in. You shouldn't read life-altering family secrets on an empty stomach. I managed a weak smile. How do you know they're life-altering? Please, she unpacked containers of noodles. Your mom was the most meticulous person I knew. If she hid something in a secret safe, it's not her dumpling recipe. We settled at the small table, and I continued reading aloud. The restaurant's real value lies in what's hidden within its walls. Your father was more than just an accountant. He worked for an international task force tracking stolen art and artifacts. The Golden Lotus was his masterpiece, a perfect front for protecting priceless treasures until they could be safely returned to their rightful owners. The night he died wasn't an accident. He discovered someone was using San Francisco's restaurant scene to smuggle stolen artifacts. He got too close. I always suspected Richard knew more than he let on, but I could never prove it. So I married him to keep my enemies close and to protect what your father died protecting. Holy shit, Lucy whispered. Your mom was a secret badass. My hands trembled as I turned the page. The next section contained detailed drawings, architectural plans of the Golden Lotus, but unlike any I'd ever seen. Secret compartments were marked throughout the building, almost impossible to find unless you knew exactly where to look. The safe you found was just the beginning. It's a decoy, meant to be discovered. The real treasure is still hidden, but you'll need your architectural expertise to find it. Your father designed the hiding place, but I redesigned it after his death. Look where the dragon's tail meets the rising sun. The mural? I gasped. Dad's friend painted it when they first opened. It covers the entire back wall of the main dining room. Lucy was already grabbing her coat. We need to get back there before the renovation starts. Wait, I held up the rest of the papers. There's more. Bank statements, old photographs. My breath caught. One photo showed Richard, 20 years younger, standing with a group of men outside another restaurant. I recognized one of them. He'd been in the news recently, arrested for art trafficking. Mom married him to investigate him, I murmured. 15 years of playing the devoted wife while gathering evidence. Lucy's eyes darkened. These records could expose his entire operation. No wonder he wants to sell the restaurant so fast. My phone buzzed with a text message. Where are you? We need to talk. Richard. He must have checked the safe, I said. He knows we found it. Then we need to move fast. Lucy grabbed her contractor's toolkit. The new owners don't take possession until next week. That gives us tonight to find whatever your mom hid. The drive to the Golden Lotus was tense. Every pair of headlights in my rearview mirror looked like Richard's BMW. The restaurant was dark when we arrived, but my key still worked. The dragon mural loomed over the back wall, its sinuous body winding through stylized clouds, its tail curling around a rising sun. I'd eaten countless meals beneath it, never knowing it held my parents' greatest secret. Lucy ran her hands along the wall, eyes sharp with professional interest. The surface feels uniform. Whatever's hidden here, it's sophisticated work. I studied Mom's drawings again. Look where the dragon's tail meets the rising sun. I've been focusing on the mural itself, but what if? I turned toward the front windows, where the actual sun would rise each morning. At the right angle, the first rays would hit the dragon's tail exactly where Lucy's tools had detected a hollow space. The light, I realized. It's about the light. I pulled out my phone, adjusting its flashlight until it hit a nearly invisible crystal embedded in the wall. A soft click echoed and a hidden panel swung outward, revealing a metal box inside. Lucy's voice turned urgent, car pulling up outside. Through the window, Richard's BMW parked. He wasn't alone. Back door, Lucy whispered. Now. We slipped into the kitchen just as the front door opened. Check everywhere, Richard ordered. She must have found something. Lucy and I exchanged glances. The back door would creak. It always had. Mom used to joke it was a built-in alarm system. Footsteps approached. It was now or never. I pointed to the walk-in freezer. Mom had insisted on an expensive model with an emergency exit, something I'd never questioned until now. We slipped inside, and I felt along the back wall until my fingers found the hidden latch. The panel hissed open, revealing the alley. We were halfway to my car when shouts erupted behind us. Drive, Lucy ordered as we jumped in. I'll call the police. The box sat heavy in her lap as I navigated the dark streets, making random turns to shake any tail. We need a secure place to open this. Lucy thought for a moment. I know a place. A renovation project, empty until next month. State-of-the-art security. In the silent, unfinished library of a Pacific Heights mansion, I placed the box on a workbench. The top was engraved with Chinese characters. It's a poem, I whispered, tracing the strokes. Mom used to recite it when she taught me calligraphy. Lucy examined the sides. These grooves, it's a puzzle box. Mom's voice echoed in my mind. Not just the meaning, Emma. The movement matters too. My fingers trembled as I followed the correct stroke order. Click, click. Finally, the lid lifted, revealing a jade Buddha nestled in protective foam. Lucy exhaled. Is that? The jade Buddha of peace, I breathed. Stolen from a temple in China 50 years ago. A letter lay beside it. Emma, by now you know the truth. Your father died protecting this artifact from those who would sell our history to the highest bidder. The proof of their crimes is hidden in this box lining. Everything your father uncovered, plus my own evidence from 15 years of marriage to a criminal. Take it to Detective Sandra Chen at the SFPD Art Crimes Unit. She worked with your father. She'll know what to do. All my love, Mom. My phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. You have something that belongs to my organization. Let's discuss terms. Your mother played this game for 15 years. How long do you think you can last? I looked at Lucy. Richard's playing his hand. She nodded. What's our move? I straightened, feeling the weight of my parents' legacy. We play the game better. Detective Sandra Chen's office at the SFPD Art Crimes Unit was smaller than I expected, but every inch of wall space told a story. Photos of recovered artifacts hung alongside newspaper clippings and commendations. But it was the old photograph behind her desk that stopped me cold. My father, younger and smiling, standing next to a rookie Detective Chen at what looked like a crime scene. Henry was one of the best, Detective Chen said, following my gaze. We always suspected his accident wasn't random, but we could never prove it. She turned to the jade Buddha resting in its secure box on her desk. Now we might finally have the proof we need. There's more, I said, pulling out the USB drive we'd found embedded in the box lining. 15 years of evidence my mom gathered while married to Richard. Chen's eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. Your mother was thorough. Bank transfers, photos, recorded conversations. She built an ironclad case. But will it be enough? Lucy asked from her position by the door. She'd insisted on coming, reminding me we still didn't know how deep Richard's influence ran. It's enough to get warrants, Chen confirmed. But we need to be careful. Richard's consortium has powerful connections. They've been using restaurants as fronts for artifact smuggling for decades. The Golden Lotus was their biggest frustration. They knew your parents were hiding something, but they never found it. My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Last chance for negotiations. The construction crew starts demolition tomorrow. Would be ashamed if any accidents happened during renovation. I showed Chen the message. He's getting desperate. She nodded grimly. Good. Desperate people make mistakes, but we can't rush this. Your mother spent 15 years building this case. We need to see it through. A thought struck me. The restaurant. Mom's letter mentioned other hiding places. What if the Buddha wasn't the only thing hidden in those walls? It's possible, Chen agreed. Your father designed several safe houses for protecting artifacts. We never found all of them. Lucy pulled out her tablet. The renovation crew starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow. They're gutting the entire interior. Then we need to get there first, I said. One last sweep before they tear everything down. Chen raised a hand. Not alone. If Richard's watching the restaurant, he'll expect you to make a move tonight. We do this by the book. Within an hour, a plan was in place. Lucy and I would return to the restaurant with a police escort, posing as family retrieving personal belongings before construction. Meanwhile, Chen would execute search warrants on Richard's office and home. Remember, she warned as we left, your mother's case is strong. But we need Richard to incriminate himself. If he contacts you again, keep him talking. The sun was setting as we arrived at the Golden Lotus. 2 plainclothes officers, posing as friends, helped us carry empty boxes inside. Through the window, I spotted Richard's BMW parked down the street. He took the bait, Lucy whispered. Now what? Now we give him a show. I spread out Mom's architectural plans under the work lights. He needs to think we're still searching for something. Lucy caught on fast, making a show of measuring walls and tapping corners. The officers maintained their cover, pretending to pack up decorative items while discreetly recording everything. Right on cue, my phone buzzed. Finding everything you're looking for. I texted back, you tell me, Richard. Mom left quite a paper trail. His response was immediate. Don't be stupid, Emma. The Buddha alone is worth millions. Name your price. How will I name yours instead? I typed. How much did they pay you to marry my mom? To spend 15 years pretending while you search for what my dad died protecting. Minutes ticked by. Finally, your father was a fool. He could have made millions, but he chose to play hero. Your mother was smarter. She understood the game, even if she played it badly. Did she? I pushed. 15 years, Richard. She knew what you were doing the whole time. A long pause. Then, last chance. Walk away now. The crew arrives at 9 a.m. Accidents happen during demolition. I was about to respond when Lucy grabbed my arm. Emma, look. She pointed to a section of wall near the kitchen. Under our work lights, the wallpaper looked subtly different. Almost unnoticeable unless you were searching for it. Another hidden panel, I breathed. We moved carefully, making it seem like a routine search. Lucy ran her hands along the wall until she found it, a near-invisible seam. This panel wasn't as elaborate as the one hiding the Buddha. It was designed for quicker access. Inside, we found stacks of notebooks, Mom's meticulous records of Richard's deals. But more importantly, there were photographs. Dozens of them, showing Richard and his associates with stolen artifacts over the years. Chen needs to see these now, one of the officers said, snapping photos with a specialized camera. Suddenly, car doors slammed outside. Richard had arrived, with 3 men I didn't recognize. Back door, Lucy whispered, but the officer shook his head. They'll have it covered. Stick to the plan. Keep him talking. The front door chimed as Richard entered. His men fanned out, blocking exits. I tried to be reasonable, Richard said, voice cold. I offered you a way out, but you're just like your mother, too stubborn to know when to fold. I kept my stance firm, shielding the hidden panel. Funny, I was thinking how much you still underestimate the women in this family. His expression darkened. Where is it? The Buddha, the records, everything Helen collected. Hand it over, and maybe my associates won't have to get involved. You mean your smuggling partners? I gestured to his men. Mom documented everything. Every meeting, every deal, every stolen artifact. A flicker of doubt crossed his face. You're bluffing. Am I? 15 years, Richard. She played you. And now I have it all. Enough games, he nodded to his men. Search everything. Find what she's hiding. That won't be necessary. Detective Chen's voice cut through the tension. She stood in the doorway, officers behind her, weapons drawn. Richard Martinez, you're under arrest for conspiracy, trafficking in stolen antiquities, and the murder of Henry Chen. Richard's face went pale. You can't. We already did, she said coolly. Your office safe was very informative. Apparently, you keep better records than you should. As they cuffed him, he turned to me one last time. You have no idea what you've done. This goes deeper than you know. I met his gaze. Oh, I know exactly what I've done. I finished what my parents started, and I did it using everything they taught me. Outside, the fog wrapped around the city. Somewhere, the jade Buddha waited to be returned to its rightful home. And for the first time in years, I felt the weight of my family's secrets finally lift. 1 year later, I stood before the Golden Lotus's newly transformed facade, watching the morning sun catch the bronze dragon coiled around our sign. Today wasn't just a reopening, it was a rebirth. The Heritage House at the Golden Lotus, Lucy read aloud beside me. Your mom would love the irony, turning a former smuggling hotspot into a cultural preservation center. The building had changed, but its heart remained. The restaurant still served Mom's recipes, ones had finally deciphered from the coded notes in her old accounting books. But upstairs, where secrets had once been hidden, we had built something new. A museum dedicated to preserving and showcasing Asian art and artifacts. Its security designed by the best in the field. The first exhibit opens next week, I said, glancing at my phone. Detective Chen arranged for several recovered artifacts to be displayed before they returned to their rightful homes, including a certain jade Buddha. I smiled. One last time before it goes home. The past year had been a whirlwind. Richard's trial had exposed a vast art trafficking network, unraveling decades of corruption. Associates turned on each other, desperate for reduced sentences, leading to the recovery of stolen treasures worldwide. Detective Chen had kept me updated. In the end, Richard pled guilty, bargaining for a lesser sentence. But thanks to the meticulous evidence Mom had gathered, he'd still spend at least 15 years behind bars when for every year he had betrayed her trust. Ms. Chen, a voice called from the entrance. Jenny, a recent art history graduate and one of our newest hires. Wake me over. The final inspection team is here. Inside, the space had been reimagined. The dragon mural remained, now the centerpiece of an exhibit celebrating traditional Chinese artistry. The hidden compartments Dad had designed were preserved behind glass, transformed into educational displays on art protection and smuggling history. The lead inspector signed off on our permits. Impressive security system, he noted. We learned from experience, I replied. As the team departed, I noticed a familiar figure at the bar. Detective Chen, dressed casually for once, sipping tea. Thought I'd stop by early, she said. Your father would be proud of what you've done. She slid a manila envelope across the counter. We found this in a false bottom of Richard's briefcase. Figured you'd want to see it. Inside was a photograph I'd never seen before. Mom and Dad on the Golden Lotus's original opening day, looking young and determined. Dad had his arm around Mom, both laughing at something off camera. Turn it over, Chen suggested. On the back, in Dad's handwriting. Opening day with my heart and my hope. The Golden Lotus will be more than just a restaurant. It will be a legacy of preservation, a place where culture and family intertwine. Helen and I will build something that will outlast us both. Tears stunned my eyes. They knew, even then, what this place could become. They laid the foundation, Chen said softly. You built something new on it. My phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline made my breath catch. International art trafficking ring dismantled. Final arrests made in multi-country raids. That's the last of Richard's network, Chen confirmed. Your mother's records map connections we didn't even know existed. Lucy appeared beside me, showing a live security feed on her tablet. Everything was running smoothly. Upstairs, the museum was ready for its first visitors. The first tour group arrives in an hour, she reminded me. School kids, I figured you'd want to handle this one. I nodded, remembering my own childhood in these halls, unaware of the legacy my parents were shaping. Now it was my turn to pass that history forward. The kitchen doors swung open, releasing a warm sense of ginger and garlic. Our new chef, trained by one of Mom's old line cooks, was preparing for the lunch rush. The menu blended tradition with modern creativity, just as Mom had always intended. Miss Chen, Jenny appeared again. There's someone here to see you, says she's family. At the entrance stood Aunt May, Mom's younger sister, who had returned from China for the reopening. In her hands, she held something unexpected. Mom's old recipe box, its wooden surface worn with age. She wanted you to have this, Aunt May said, pressing it into my hands. But only when you were ready, when you truly understood what the Golden Lotus means. Inside, beneath the handwritten recipe cards, lay a letter in Mom's familiar script. My dearest Emma, by now, you've uncovered our secrets and understood why your father and I chose this path. The Golden Lotus was never just about hiding treasures or exposing criminals. It was about preserving something far more precious, not just artifacts, but the stories they carry, the culture they represent, the connections they forge between past and present. You have built something beautiful from the foundation we laid. You have honored our dream and made it your own. I'm sorry for the burden of secrets I place on you, but I never doubted you would rise to meet it. You have your father's sense of justice and my determination. More importantly, you have your own vision, your own way of building bridges between tradition and innovation. Take care of our legacy, my brave architect. Build something that will tell our story long after we are gone. All my love, Mom. I exhaled shakily, closing my fingers around the letter. Outside, the first tour group arrived, 20 eager fourth graders and their teachers. As I guided them through the museum, explaining the significance of each artifact, I felt my parents' presence in every corner. In the restaurant, customers filled the tables, old regulars and new faces alike, sharing stories over plates of carefully prepared food. Detective Chen stayed through the lunch rush, swapping tales about Dad with our older patrons. Lucy fine-tuned the security system. Aunt May took over the kitchen for an hour, teaching our chef the proper way to fold dumplings to Mom's exacting standards. As the afternoon sun cast golden light through the windows, I stood in the center of what we had built. Not just a restaurant, not just a museum, but a living testament to everything my parents have fought to protect. My phone buzzed one last time, a message from the prison where Richard was serving his sentence. He was requesting a meeting, probably hoping to negotiate. I deleted it without replying. Some chapters were better left closed. Instead, I walked through the space, watching families share meals, children learn about their heritage, visitors connect with pieces of history long thought lost. The Jade Buddha would soon return home, but its story, and ours, would live on here. In the kitchen, Mom's old wok sat proudly displayed in a custom case, a small plaque beneath it. In memory of Helen and Henry Chen, who built more than just a restaurant. They created a legacy of preservation, protection, and pride in our shared cultural heritage. The Golden Lotus had been many things, a hiding place, a battleground, a sanctuary. Now it was something more, a bridge between past and future, a place where heritage was not just preserved but celebrated. Lucy joined me at the bar, setting down 2 cups of jasmine tea. To the Golden Lotus 2.0, she said, and to the family that built it. I touched my cup to hers, gazing around at the life filling this space. The hidden compartments were empty now, their secrets uncovered and their treasures returned, but the Golden Lotus had never just been about what was hidden. Its true legacy had always been in what it revealed.